What's going on, everybody? I'm Josh.
And I'm John, and this is 4-Point Play.
And today we're going to be talking about the Coach of the Year. So we brought it down to about 5 candidates, and we're going to start from the least likely to the most likely. So at the 5th, we have
Kenny Atkinson of the Nets. Now, this is kind of a surprise pick, I'm going to be honest. Not many people would have expected it. And I mean, realistically, he's not even going to get that many votes. I just wanted to bring him up very quickly. He is doing quite well, in my opinion, developing players like Spencer Dinwiddie, Jarrett Allen, the rookie center. And they've done all of what they've been doing without Jeremy Lin for the whole season and a long portion of the season of D'Angelo Russell's season being missed as well.
One thing that the Nets actually do really well is shoot the well, not necessarily really well, but they do is shoot the three ball. They're second in the league in shooting threes. They shoot 41% of their shots from behind the line, and they're also second last in the league in shooting a long two. So they really like the 3-over-2 theory, and I mean it's been working for the Rockets. So
I mean it just shows that Kenny Atkinson's employing a good system. He may not necessarily have the talent to make it successful at this point, but he's still using a good system for the modern NBA, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like Tyler Zeller, you have DeMar Carroll, who are coming off the bench and who are veterans, and they've been in the league for a bit, so now they know how to be that role player and help these young guys succeed. And one thing that the Nets are going to be is really good in a few years. And another thing that we just found out recently is that they haven't drafted over 22nd since 2010. So that's like a problem because there's not a lot of guys that come after the lottery that translate into really good NBA players. So The fact that they're gambling from anything under 22nd to carry their franchise, it's pretty impressive with, I guess, what they're at now. So at number 4, we now have
Quinn Snyder, coach of the Utah Jazz. What do you think about him?
I think, as far as you guys know now, I'm a pretty big fan of the Jazz. I like the way they play. I like their whole system. A lot of their players, they like to play for each other, so that's something that interests me when I'm watching basketball. But when you lose a guy like Gordon Hayward, who was an all-star and who's just a phenomenal basketball player, and you're still able to not only compete in the West but make the playoffs in the West, that's really impressive to me. You're now bringing Donovan Mitchell in, who's a rookie. He's coming in and he's kind of picking up where Gordon Hayward left off. Maybe not the same level of play, but he's definitely filling in his shoes to an extent. So I think he's someone that you have to consider.
Right, and I mean, not only did Gordon Hayward leave, they also lost Rudy Gobert to an injury for a large part of the season. So I feel like it's really impressive what they've been able to do without 2 of their best players from last year. And so it's just impressive all around.
Yeah, and for the Jazz also, they shoot the ball really well. Their systems like ran to perfection almost. They if they need a bucket, they call timeout and Quinn will drop a play quickly and it'll just be right back out and they score a basket. So it's like he's able to adjust and make make adjustments on the fly, and his team responds well to him. So I think that just goes to show that he is a really good coach in this league.
Right, and now we're down to what we thought of as our 3 finalists. And first on that list is Brad Stevens.
So Brad Stevens, to me, I think at the start of the year was the clear pick for Coach of the Year when you have that huge roster change they had, losing Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley, and now they have Kyrie and they have younger guys with Jason Tatum. They have Al Horford stayed, and I think they're even better than what they were last year. They're a better defensive team because Kyrie's just a better defender than Isaiah Thomas. They're more of a team. They're not relying on Isaiah Thomas's 27 points per game last year to win them games. They're really, really deep. And I think now they've kind of fallen off a bit. I think other teams have picked up. So I think he's dropped. And he's also battling with a lot of injuries. So the fact that they're still being able to win games without guys like Kyrie, Tyus, and Jaylen Brown's out now. So there's a lot of factors that are holding the Celtics back, but they're still managing to get it done.
Right, and I mean, if you look at the development of the players, it's pretty impressive as well. You've got Tatum, Brown, players like Rozier coming off the bench, and you see that he has all his players that can play. Like, they can all play off the bench, and that's impressive for a coach to be able to do that, right? So,
yeah, they definitely all know their roles. Like, he can play anybody, including Shane Larkin, even if Terry Rozier is just having an off game. So he not only does he trust his players, his players also trust him. So I think that's also a really big key in being a good coach.
Right. And our next coach on the list was Mike D'Antoni, Houston Rockets, best team in the league right now. What do you have to say about them?
I mean, they're number 1 offensively. They're number 8 defensively in terms of defensive rating. So they're really up there. And at the start of the year, there's big question marks on Chris Paul and James Harden. Are they going to be able to work together? And they figured it out. And I think they did more than just figure it out. I think they've become the favorite in the league to win the championship by a lot of people. So I think that you have to give it up to Mike D'Antoni. They run an offense or a system where it's really, we're just going to outscore the other opponent.
Right.
And they just do it so efficiently that teams are struggling to beat them, even if the Rockets aren't really relying on defense to win.
Yeah, I love how efficient that team is. I love that they're either going to take a three-pointer or they're going to score at the basket. And I feel like that's a really cool aspect of basketball that's starting to become more of a common theme around the league. But it's really interesting to see how D'Antoni has a system and how all the players have bought into it, right? There's very, like, I would say, like, there's no one that hasn't bought into that. There's a lot of three-point shooters, and if you're not a three-point shooter, you're going to be finishing at the rim like Clint Capella.
And also, almost every single player on that team is a 3-and-D guy. The only player that's not really playing defense is James Harden. Everyone else on that team plays defense, and even now James Harden's playing a little more defense. He's getting to the point where he's just like, he doesn't break a sweat offensively, really. And so now he's putting a little more effort on defense. So I think that's one thing Mike D'Antoni is really focused on James Harden is let's make him the best isolation basketball player we've ever seen, and then we'll just teach him defense later.
Right. And I mean, there's also, if you're looking in terms of development, Clint Capella has really taken a step forward, I would think, compared to where he was last year, 2 years ago. Yeah. He's made a really big step. And so he's a beast at this point, and I feel like you have to credit D'Antoni with some of that as well.
He went from a mediocre center to one of probably a top 5, top 10 center in the league for sure.
Right.
And finally, we have who we both think is going to win Coach of the Year is Dwayne Casey. I personally think he's going to win the Coach of the Year just because they had a huge system change to their team last year. They're shooting more threes. They're kind of following that Houston Rockets style of basketball where it's kind of the 3s over 2s. And it's been successful for them. And with that, they're still managing to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. So I think he kind of has a really, really good shot at winning the Coach of the Year this year.
Not only that, but could you imagine the conversation where you sit down with Lowry and DeRozan and say, I'm going to need you guys to take less possessions?
Yeah.
That would be such a tough sell to your best players. They're going to be like, okay, I'm going to need you guys to totally change how you guys play the game so that we can win. And I mean, it's a credit to him that he was able to identify the fact that what he was doing was not working, right? So to be able to do that and then make such a positive change at sharing the ball between everyone, shooting three-pointers, stuff like that is a very large credit to Dwayne Casey.
And then another thing we've been talking about is development, and you see guys like Podol and Lucas Nogueira now who's kind of becoming a better player. They have a lot of guys, including Norman Powell, who've also been they're just young and they're good NBA players already. They're coming basically straight out of college or overseas, wherever, and they're producing and they're being huge role players and huge keys to that team. And I think that's what's going to take them further in the playoffs. And I think that's going to keep them on top throughout the regular season.
Yeah, and I feel like one player that gets overlooked a surprising amount on their bench is Fred VanVleet.
Oh yeah,
he's been crazy this year. He's been really, really good for them, and he doesn't get a lot of credit. Like, he doesn't get brought up enough, I don't think. But I feel like you also got to credit the coaching staff for some of that progression as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Raptors, they've been a force all year, and at the start of the year, I didn't really believe the hype of them. Every single year, people are always talking about how the Raptors have a shot, and I'm just like, no, they don't. The Cavs, but I think this year the Raptors do have a shot, and it all comes down to Dwayne Casey. So
yeah,
I think he has the best shot at winning Coach of the Year this year.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments.
If there's any other coaches that deserve the MVP, or not the MVP, sorry, the Coach of the Year more than any of the 5 we listed, we'd like to know. So just like, subscribe, and thank you.
See you guys.